for all the incredible energy we've been able to generate over the last few weeks, for all the rallies and the memes.
Public service announcement. The President of the United States is not your friend. I repeat, we are hiring an employee that will provide their services in return for the power vested in your tax dollars. Said employee will receive a check just like anybody else in this country. Please do not forget why we are here. We the people pay the president's salary. We have a say in the hiring process to a certain extent. The candidate's job is to convince you they deserve this position. Do not forget why we are here. This is a professional relationship. Yes, I contain a small but substantial semblance of humanity within me. This allows me to see both of our presidential candidates as people worthy of common human decency. I also have an understanding that we are not friends. You are not my auntie. You are not my aggressively racist uncle that emerges from his man cave on the solstice to threaten my biracial children. You are here to do a job. To hold the highest seat of power in this nation. Let's use professionalism and discernment when casting our votes in November. This is the biggest hiring event in the country. I am not telling you who to vote for. That's your business. I am a Dominican with a plastic bedazzled Party City microphone on the internet. Use your own judgment, please. Please, if anything, use your own judgment. In this video, I will be analyzing the Democratic Party's instances of hypocrisy in the 2024 election season, with a special focus on their strategic use of memes in their marketing plan. Let's get into it. We will begin by underlining the comical duality of Gen Z. In general, we are very serious and vocal about the things that matter to us, yet simultaneously unserious about using humor to discuss and process our trauma. My theory is that growing up post 9/11, living through the housing crisis in 2008, being afraid to get shot in our classrooms, watching the adults elect Donald Trump in 2016, as well as living through the pandemic all before the age of 18, give or take, really did take a toll on our collective consciousness. Let's just say humor is how Gen Z copes with reality.
In many ways, Donald Trump is an unserious man.
Do you know why people laughed in that clip? Kamala used Gen Z lingo, online speak, the forbidden tongue to connect with the girls and the gays. It embodies Gen Z's deeply rooted philosophy, let's laugh because it hurts way too much to do anything else. This is why the theme of using humor to market a prospective presidential candidate to young voters is absolutely 100% working. This strategy not only targets Gen Z, but millennials live, laugh, love, just like us. Believe it or not. They also like a good meme or two, served to them on a vintage vinyl platter. Roll the next clip.
So Kamala Harris was asked how she intends to fix inflation, and this was her answer.
Well, let's start with this. Prices have gone up, and families and individuals are dealing with the realities of that bread costs more, that gas costs more. And we have to understand what that means. That's about the cost of living going up. That's about having to stress and stretch limited resources. That's about a source of stress for families that is not only economic, but is on a daily level, something that is a heavy weight to carry. So it
Gasp, gagged. When in doubt, restate the question. See, now this is hilarious to me, but I think we can all agree that to someone who doesn't take everything as a joke, hearing your Democratic nominee not be able to come up with an answer to an important question might be a bit concerning, just a little bit. The Democratic Party seems to cater their speeches to the lower and middle class voters. Inflation is the rate of increase in prices. So when you go to the grocery store and everything costs more, but you aren't getting paid more, that's kind of what it is. Now you see lower and middle class voters care about the cost of living. Yet, They asked her a simple question: what is her plan to fix inflation? What is her plan to make sure the cost of living does not rise? And she didn't really seem to have an answer to that. And I think that's really funny. Like, if you think about it, that's really funny. But that's how I deal with my discomfort and dissatisfaction with the state of the American government. Just saying. And you know what? Actually, I'll say this. Nothing can shock me at this point. I'm unshockable. Don't waste your time being shocked. Listen and do something. In the eyes of Gen Z, her marketing plan uses her failures, or fails, as the kids say, as a positive. The creator of this video is not in any way being satirical, right? Yet the highly concerning points brought up elicit this trauma response in Gen Z, so we laugh because Live, Laugh, Silk Press, paid for by Kamala Harris, allegedly. Now, what do Gen Z voters care about in this election? A lot. We care about a lot. Now, these are voters from 13, 14 years old to 26, 27. This is this is a range. This is our youth. The youth. This is a list of things this article says Gen Z voters care about: mental health, gun violence, jobs that do not pay a livable wage, reproductive rights, Palestine. Now, this is all good and well, right? We have a list of things we care about. Now, what do? Let's say Kamala Harris promises to do some of the things Gen Z cares about. This still doesn't guarantee when elected she will follow through on those promises that got her into office. But once again, I am just a Dominican with a microphone. But I guess I speak for the people, allegedly. I would like to bring into evidence some excerpts from Breaking Bread by Bell Hooks and Cornel West. Give it a read. This is them. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child. And this entire book is a dialogue between the two about their lived politics of revolutionary struggle. Ironically, Cornel did run for president this year. You had my vote, King. You did. West. I have a feeling that the post-Obama Black intelligentsia is going to be devastated. So much of the Black intelligentsia has been shamefully silent and unprecedentedly capitulating to the Obama administration. That fame may dry up. That status may dry up when he's no longer at the top. When she did that infomercial where she was trying to act like the Obamas winning, this time stands for some shift away from race and racism, I was truly amazed. Hooks. And I thought that she was creating a myth, a whole sort of fantasy of the post-racial society. Now they were talking about this political commentator who worked on MSNBC named Melissa Harris Perry. Coincidence? I think not. Here, Hooks and West speak about the state of Black intellectuals and writers in the public eye during the Obama administration. Absolutely. I received a direct call from the White House when the Playboy interview came out, where I said that I really believed deep down there was an element of Ella Baker inside of Michelle Obama. Officials from the White House administration called me up to tell me that she's got no relation to Ella Baker and that she doesn't want to hear that kind of stuff. She didn't want me connecting her to that tradition and so on. Hooks. Now, isn't that interesting? It's here's this couple that's willing to connect themselves to the awful, hedonistic, materialistic, non-talented tradition of wealthy music, but eschew the musical lineage of Ella Baker. Here we see what we have always seen: Black people in power removing themselves from Blackness and Black culture because it does not do well in a white supremacist patriarchal society. It does not. Hooks. The disavowal of those connections continues with the diminishment of our collective spirit as African people. Hooks. No one has really wanted to talk about the extent to which the Obamas as president and first lady have been compelled by the white supremacist corporate state to project an image of themselves as only moderately affiliated with African American people, allied in a cultural sense rather than political. Hooks. When I called attention to the fact that in his inaugural address, Obama did not say Dr. King's name. West. Right. It was the young preacher from Atlanta, the young preacher from Georgia. Hooks. Exactly. But Cornel, this is where we are. How come you and a few others were the only ones that heard that omission? And when I would talk to people about it, they would act like, what are you talking about? West. Why are you nitpicking? That's just part of your hatred of Obama. Nobody else picked that up. I said they knew, of course. that the white brother wrote the speech. Hooks, exactly. West, it's strategic, tactical, make allusions to the important black leaders without claiming a true allegiance to them. Hooks. I was like, wow, he can use the King Bible. That was just an aside, but he can't actually say or praise his name. To speak the name of Dr. King would have affirmed his solidarity with a radical visionary leader. Where do we go from here? He affirmed the symbolic image of Martin Luther King while simultaneously disavowing a connection to the vital, radical, militant reality of Martin Luther King. West. That's exactly right. That's why I'm glad I've been consistent in my hard-hitting critique of Obama, and I would do it again. And I would probably hit even harder. Hooks. Because our culture is increasingly telling us that anybody that opposes the status quo, that dissents, is a traitor. A lot of black people were scared to say anything deemed as negative about Barack Obama because of the historical nature of his presidency. I fear the same is going to happen with Kamala Harris. Critique of authority, in my opinion, is important in democracy. I'm glad Gen Z isn't letting this one slide. Critical thinking allows us to differentiate between necessary critique and useless hate speech. My dissent is valid and contributes to a larger conversation. Once you start to be disrespectful and make weak points, your argument dissolves like a tide pod in the ocean. Let's be clear, let's be respectful. Moving on. The United States of America has yet to elect an African American president or vice president. All black elected officials have played this really careful game of not being too black. Barack Obama has a white American mother and a Kenyan father. He's not African American. Kamala Harris is Afro-Caribbean, Jamaican. Again, not African American. Being African American is to be part of an ethnic group descended of enslaved people that built this country. When will America be ready to elect an African American president? As the Tootsie Pop people have stated again and again, the world may never know. We live in a society. Let's talk about guerrilla marketing. Guerrilla marketing uses unconventional strategies to delight and attract customers. Emphasis on delight. It's about being out of the box and getting customers interested in a product, or in our case, voters interested in a candidate. I am announcing the arrival of the memes.
You did it. We did it, Joe. You're going to be the next president of the United States.
To work out. That's when you did the, we did it, Joe. So, I've got to ask you.
All right, best. Wakanda Forever. Paid for by Kamala Harris.
Best rapper alive.
Tupac. I love good news. Love good news. I just love good news. Wheels on the bus go round and round. Who doesn't love a yellow school bus, right? Can you raise your hand if you love a yellow school bus, right? Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
Poor hubby.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do. And there is such great significance to the passage of time. I love Venn diagrams. I really do. I love Venn diagrams. It's just something about those three circles. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context.
On Kamala's official campaign platforms, her bio says, providing the context. The graphic comes from Charli XCX's new album, Brat, after she tweeted, Kamala is Brat. But why don't we use the historical context of the occupation of Palestine to inform our decision to stop sending the colonizing state of Israel money for weapons? But I guess I just don't share those imperialistic American values with our governing body. This campaign is smart. They know we will choose the better option.
Together, Kamala and Tim have kept faith with America's central story. A story that says we are all created equal. All of us endowed with certain inalienable rights.
So ideological about American values. This country is about freedom and equality. It has never been, babe. We are in the long process of molding this country into the shape of those values. You can't use a broken foundation built off of slavery, white supremacy, patriarchy, and xenophobia and try to justify moving forward without addressing the Democratic Party's complacency. The reason Donald Trump has so many supporters is because we continue to ignore systemic oppression in education, in the workplace, in the government. The Democratic Party plays with changing the system, but I believe they want change. But it takes vision to imagine radical change, not a complacent attitude where we double down on falsehoods that this country continues to promote. Yes, America was created on the principles of equality and freedom for white, straight, able-bodied, land-owning men. Instead, these politicians want us to believe in the ideological, conceptual display of America, when in reality, the truth does not measure up. America wasn't built for all of us. It was built off the continual sacrifice of indigenous people and off the backs of African Americans. On October 23rd, 2023, Barack Obama posted an official statement on Instagram titled, "Thoughts of Israel and Gaza," where he declared solidarity with the Israeli people. He said that Israel has a right to defend its people, a commonly held belief in the Democratic Party. He fully supports Biden in supporting their long-term ally, Israel, in going after Hamas. But that's not what they did with the billions of dollars the United States gives them for weapons. The United States is funding a genocide. In Obama's defense, he did say it matters how they fight Hamas. He reiterated what Biden said about using a strategy that abides by international law, that supports avoiding the suffering of civilian populations. He said that an Israeli military strategy that ignores the cost of human life could backfire, and it did. Yet the United States continues their relationship with the occupation. America is a modern symbol of colonial power. Expecting another country that invaded and pushed people off their land not to commit a genocide is very naive. That is America, not the land of the free, but a powerful symbol to the rest of the world that using religion and violence to take what you believe to be yours is not only justified, but American. Of course, they would agree that Israel has a right to push people off their land and kill them. That is America. That is our foundation. Acknowledging that would cause this foundation to crumble. This is my problem with Black people who don't try to rock the boat. Babe, the duct tape can't plug up the holes we are sinking, and white people won't let us on the life raft. Now, what is the history of presidents following through with promises that got them elected? Many presidents have made promises to the public knowing that they most likely will not be able to keep them. I would like to add that this was mostly unforeseen circumstances that caused them to break these promises. For example, in 1916, Woodrow Wilson promised he would keep us out of war. 29 days later, his administration declared war on Germany after they broke their promise to suspend unrestricted U-boat warfare and their attempts to talk to Mexico into joining an alliance against the United States Congress. In 1932 and 1940, FDR promised not to send our boys into any more foreign wars and to put our nation back to work. He did put the nation back to work, but after Pearl Harbor, he asked Congress to declare war on Japan. In 1988, Bush #1 said no new taxes after months of trying increased taxes. In 2008, Barack Obama promised to close the bipartisan divide in Washington. The bipartisan divide was much larger when he left office in 2017. These historical accounts demonstrate that the promises, which are the thesis statements of presidential campaigns, typically see no follow-through or are only partially completed. If Kamala Harris said, "I will try to get a ceasefire and I'll do my best to protect your reproductive rights," it wouldn't sell the same to voters. People want assurances. People need definitive answers to their questions when in reality, the future is unpredictable. All I ask for is clarity. But I guess clarity doesn't win elections. Will Kamala Harris's administration comply with their promises? We simply must rely on historical accounts. The answer is a strong maybe. It might not be what you want to hear. The truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off.
With respect to the war in Gaza, President Biden and I are working around the clock because now is the time to get a hostage deal and a ceasefire deal done. And let me be clear, I will always stand up for Israel's right to defend itself, including unspeakable sexual violence, and the massacre of young people at a music festival. At the same time, what has happened in Gaza over the past 10 months is devastating.
It's becoming difficult to believe Kamala and Joe are part of the same party, let alone the same administration, considering this immediate switch up. But I do understand the VP's power is limited. Donald Trump's entire campaign seems to be weaponizing racism, bigotry, and misogyny to give primarily lower middle-class Americans an enemy that is the source of all their problems. It's eerily similar to how Hitler convinced the German people that the reason the economy was horrible, that they didn't have jobs, that they were suffering was because of Jewish people. We should demand more. Ask for more. The American people deserve more.
And that's why when we uphold our values, the world's a little brighter. When we don't, the world's a little dimmer. And dictators and autocrats feel emboldened. And over time, we become less safe. We shouldn't be the world's policemen, and we can't eradicate every cruelty and injustice in the world. But America can be and must be a force for good. Discouraging conflict, fighting disease, promoting human rights, protecting the planet from climate change, defending freedom.
But we can use taxpayer dollars to fund wars and genocides oceans away. The American government decided to be the policeman when they put money for weapons in colonizer hands, but American values are the values of the colonizer. Yet you dare ask for the votes of the oppressed. Come on, quote me. Sidebar, it's interesting that you use the word police force in this speech, considering the United States police force started as slave catchers.
He doesn't. Do not boo. Vote.
He ate right there. Just vote boo. I'm understanding of those who are feeling frustrated about voting. A video essayist on YouTube named Herbie said, only one of the presidential candidates is calling for a ceasefire. The other one has not. Take that in your own time. It might be a hard pill to swallow, but there's water in the back if you need it.
Just imagine Donald Trump with no guardrails. And how he would use the immense powers of the presidency of the United States. Not.
I think this point being made is very important. When Donald Trump was in office, he was doing very nefarious shit, all right? So 34 felony counts worth of nefarious shit. And the only thing stopping him from doing worse was the fear of, criminal, persecution, the fear of going to jail, right? And the Supreme Court gave Donald Trump presidential immunity. So this time, the fear of spending life in prison is gone. He has free reign to do anything. Dangerously unchecked power to damage our country. Reflect on it. Reflect on it.
No one has a monopoly on what it means to be an American. No one. Kamala has shown her allegiance to this nation, not by spewing anger and bitterness, but by living a life of service and always pushing the doors of opportunity open to others. She understands that most of us will never be afforded the grace of failing forward. We will never benefit from the affirmative action of generational wealth.
Yes, First Lady. The Obamas are great public speakers. They command this presence in the room that even if they fumble, you never notice because it's just all about their vibe, you know? I like that.
I want to know who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs. Who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs, one of those black jobs, one of those black jobs,
Y'all need help. We the people need to take this more seriously. We need help, but you can't tell me that song's not amazing. Funny, I would dance to that in a club. Yes, Yes. Donate the proceeds. Yes. Thank you. In his speech, Barack Obama said we can't have a Goldilocks complex, referring to us asking Kamala to be perfect. Like, oh, but why don't you why don't you agree with this? And you need to do this, and you need to do this. He's like, stop having a Goldilocks complex, you know? Like, the bed's too stiff. The bed's too soft. The bed's just right. Like, you can't have that. And I'm just like, well, Miss Girl, what are you asking? Can we not demand more? Can we not ask for more? The Earth is a Goldilocks planet. Did you know that? It is classified as a Goldilocks planet. Not too close to the sun to be too hot, like Mars. Not too far away to be too cold, like Venus. We are Goldilocks. We are just right. That's why we have life on Earth. Like, I can demand it. I live on a Goldilocks planet. I can demand just right. Get out of here. Don't play with me. He wants us to stop being ideological, right? When it comes to voting for who gets to hold the highest seat of power in the United States, but he's going to use that same ideology to get you to vote for Harris? Like, because does Barack Obama get to decide when and where we feel hope? Big Papa Barack? Big Papa Barack? No. You don't get to decide when I'm hopeful, right? Like, vote for Kamala because this is what the country is and America. No, that's not true. But I can't be like, this is what I want the country to be. This is America. Then you're like, stop. Not everything's perfect. Reality, bitch. And I'm like, girl. Barack, no. See, I don't like that.
The next president of the United States of America, Kamala Harris.
I'm convinced Barack Obama is on shift talk. He's manifesting. He's speaking it into existence. Let her brew these incantations. In his slumber, he shifts realities into Hogwarts. It's 10 points for the Democratic Party. Sometimes government officials give off this, you don't understand the complexities of the government, just trust us. And it's like, babe, no, I'm just trying to question you. Even if I'm wrong, that's okay. Sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong. Okay. Let's learn. It's not just stop asking me questions because it makes me uncomfortable. No, girl. No, we can't live like that, right? No, we can't. Freedom of speech. We can't do that, right? We need to be able to criticize authority because despite Gen Z's ability to be lighthearted and not take everything so seriously, to the extent that memes are winning the Democratic Party, the 2024 election, come on, y'all. Like, stand up for democracy. Stand up. Do you democracy what's happening? Like, bitch, come on. Let's clarify. This is serious. The right to make decisions about our bodies and the children in Gaza are no laughing matter. Kamala is calling for a ceasefire, but simultaneously saying that Israel has a right to defend itself. Let's demand more. Let's get involved. Let's listen. Let's be respectful. Let's allow ourselves to change our minds and grow because memes just got used for political power. So I guess anything is possible in this world. You are all very smart. Use your minds and question everything. Ask questions. Jeez, y'all just be like, LOL, haha, Kamala Harris, haha, coconut tree. Like, no, it's deeper than that. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe or to leave a comment or to like my video. You will do that in your own time. I don't know. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, go away, I don't know.